All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome into episode five of Pick and Troll. Here with Rex today, breaking down a really solid college basketball slate. Today's probably the best slate that we've had since opening weekend, as far as I'm concerned. We do have the ACC and Big Ten Challenge going on. You got Creighton and Kansas. Colorado is playing against
Tennessee.
A lot of good games. So got a lot to talk about. Going to just go ahead and tweet this link out. And I've got a gang load of plays today. Rex has got 3. We're basically just going to be talking about the picks. We do have a troll that we will get to. So give me one moment.
And as usual, if anyone has a game they want us to break down or has a play that they're on today, they think it's their whale cow lock of the year, put that in the comments as well. We'll break down anything you guys ask for throughout the stream.
Yeah, absolutely. And we will be going through all the marquee, the big matchups actually. I have plays on 3 of them and Rex has plays on the other 2. So we will be sure to talk about all those. We won't do our usual where we break down the big games at the end since we have picks on all of these, but make sure you chime in the comments to let us know if you have questions on any games. Before we get started, quick plug for the site. Make sure to check out www.thebreakdownsports.com. We just uploaded a new article about grading for cards, baseball, football, basketball. So make sure you check that out if you're into the hobby. Because it's the beginning of the week, we do have a new series that is starting. It's the SEC College Basketball Power Rankings. So make sure to check that out from our 2 resident SEC fans. And then being the beginning of the week, we'll have college football, soccer, and NFL articles all released today, tomorrow, and Wednesday as well. So make sure you head over. Today's Tuesday. Today, tomorrow, Thursday. So make sure you head over to the site, check that out. You can find us on Twitter at breakdown_sports, BRKDWN, Instagram, _breakdown. We are starting to post more to our Instagram and Facebook, so make sure you check those out. And we are on Facebook at the Breakdown Sports. Do a search for us, you'll be able to find us and like our page. So appreciate all the support. Without further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump in. As I mentioned, ACC and Big Ten Challenge begins today. We have some games today, and we do have games tomorrow. We do have some of the smaller conferences that are trying to begin conference play now. As those conference games are canceled due to COVID, you will see teams just scheduling with any other team in their area who is available for games. So something to keep an eye on. We are around the corner from every conference starting conference play, probably late next week or the week after.
This week, most of them begin.
Are they? Yeah. I think I saw the 14th. So that's probably was the last one that's starting, and that's Monday. So yeah, we have some later this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and then the rest will kick into that conference play next week. Quickly, ballers of the night. Last night was a pretty weak slate. Not a lot in terms of basketball going on. Thankfully, we did have 2 pretty solid NFL games. But the ballers of the night, we have Devontae Carter out of Norfolk State. He was the closest to a triple-double. He had 29 points, 9 rebounds, and 8 assists in a win over Hampton. And then for my ballin' when it doesn't matter, you have Eli Scott for Loyola Marymount. They're really struggling to put anything together, but Eli Scott was draining last night. 32 points and 12 rebounds in a loss to UCal Santa Barbara. Any headlines or anything you want to touch on, Rex?
No, I guess just last night I saw a few guys on Twitter, and it kind of took a rough beat. They're backing Eastern Washington against Oregon. Oregon made a late run to cover that spread, but that was one of this Eastern Washington teams been hanging from the Big Sky's been hanging tough with these Pac-12 teams they've been playing with.
Yeah, and they have been doing really well. I think they're certainly one of the top teams in the Big Sky out there. So something to keep an eye on as we continue down the season. Recap of the model. Model is currently 123, 109, and 7 pushes That is 53% against the spread, so still just over profitable if we were silly enough to actually bet 250 games in the first 14 days of the season. Our multi-point edges, so anything over 2.5 points, 56, 41, and 2. That is a 57.75% against the spread. So that is doing a little bit better. A lot of those games, as Rex and I have talked about, are those really big favorites and those really big dogs. Our model's always backing the dogs, but that's not really a game you want to go ahead and get involved with very often. It has worked out in the model's favor, clearly. But now that we're getting closer to conference play, we're seeing teams who are more evenly matched. It'll be great to see how the model does down the stretch. You got anything to add?
Yeah, the biggest edge is if you want to play Missouri Valley State at plus 44.5 tonight, we think it should be at 38. I would not recommend you doing it, but I think they're 2-2 ATS, so that's where we've gotten two of our covers. You got the first versus the 10th tempo tonight, so Memphis might break 120 points. So I would not get involved, but Missouri Valley State, I'm going to be happy during conference play if they stop showing up, but I have a feeling that they're going to drag on the whole season. And they're going to be worse than Chicago State.
Ooh, they are your bottom feeder of the country?
Yeah, they just play zero defense and they play up and down. They're fun to watch, but they're just going to give up 100 every game almost.
Yep, absolutely. I totally agree with that. And yeah, we'll see once we get into the conference play there, if they have a little bit more fight in them or if they just continue to let teams blow them out. I think this is going to be a good spot for Memphis just to see what they actually have, see the raw talent on their team, and hopefully Penny Hardaway start to able to put together some better lineups. They've been really hit or miss on this season, so I think this will be a good game to try out some different rotations, similar to what Michigan State did when they played Detroit over the weekend. Just testing out different lineups, seeing what works, what doesn't, and kind of making note of it before you get into the thick of conference play. Go ahead and jumping right into our picks. As I mentioned, I do have 5 picks today. 4 different games. I have 2 picks on one game, as I'll be splitting a money line and a dog bet. So I'll go ahead and jump into that one first. The first team that I like is Detroit Mercy, aka Detroit's college team. I like them both money line and against the spread, taking on Kent State. Detroit is currently a 2.5 point favorite, or 2.5 point dog. Sorry. We have them projected as a slight favorite, a 1 point favorite here. These are two teams that they're allergic to defense. Both teams are in the bottom 50 in terms of their defensive efficiency from Bart, Ken Palm, and Eric Haslam. So there's not going to be a lot of defense that's going to be played, and it's going to be a high-scoring game with a ton of offense. Catching a few points in a really high-scoring game is something that it's kind of an angle I like to take, and I just like Detroit. Detroit's playing well. They played well last year. They have 3 starters who are fifth-year grads, plus they have Antoine Davis, who was actually an All-American last year. Man has scored 1,500 points in his college career as a junior, and I think he's put up some godly amount of threes, like 250 made threes. So he's just an absolute walking bucket out there. I like Detroit. I'm backing them tonight. I think they just have the experience. Both teams have played well against superior opponents. Kent State just took Virginia to overtime, whereas Detroit pushed Michigan State. They were down by 4 points in the last 4 minutes of the game. And they lost to Notre Dame by like 6 points on Sunday. So Detroit's really playing well out there. I like them. As far as analytics, like I said, this is going to be all offense. You have Detroit, who's a really fast-paced team, and Kent State, who likes to play things a little bit slower. But if you look at the analytics, for both teams, it's going to be all green. And when it comes to offense versus the opposing team, and there's no major edge when it comes to defense. Because of that, I just like the slightly more talented team. I like Detroit. I like them to win outright here, and that's about all I got.
Yeah, you're back in the fighting Brad Calipari's. Hopefully he gets a lot of court time for you. That might help out your bet because they'd probably be winning by a lot or down by a lot if he's getting in there.
Yeah.
Both of these both of these teams run shorter rotations, so that's where you're going to see, even though Detroit does like to get up and down the court, both of these teams kind of limit their bench. You're kind of getting two teams that are ranked right around each other with, I believe, is Detroit home or away?
Detroit's home.
So Detroit's getting home. You're getting points. I believe it opened up a little bit higher, so you're on the right side of the money here. So that's where Detroit, all signs seem to point to it. And I guess Mike Nuja is the guy you just have to watch out for in Kent State. If he gets going, then it could become an issue. But other than him, they don't have much guys on this team.
No, yeah. I mean, they're really a mismatch of teams when you look at them on Bart. Bart only has 7 players for that team as far as contributors, and it's actually the same for Detroit. So like you said, they run short benches. There's not a lot of players who contribute. Kent State's pretty balanced. They have like their 4 or 5 main guys who they run with, and then they just rotate in 2 or 3 dudes. So something to watch. And yeah, I taking Detroit here. Money lines plus 135 with money lines. Make sure you shop around. They're varied everywhere. And then I'm taking Detroit plus 2.5 minus 105.
All right, so I'll get into my first game. We got a Pac-12 versus SEC matchup. This one tips off at 6 between Tennessee and Colorado. I'm going to back the Buffs here at plus 5.5. Wish I got in probably a half hour to hour earlier and got the 6, but I'm still happy with the 5.5 here. Tennessee's first game, they're home, so you don't get the elevation in Colorado, but I believe this game was put on the schedule a week ago, so neither team had gotten like extreme amount of preps or knew this game was on the schedule. But don't always like backing a Pac-12 team against an SEC one, but this is where I just think the points are too many here. The issue with starting off why I can see this not covering is if John Fulkerson for Tennessee just goes off. Colorado does have some size, but they don't have, I would say maybe – you don't have to be extremely athletic to cover Fulkerson because he's kind of like a Dirk player. But if he gets that weird fadeaway jump shot going, it's just almost impossible to cover. Past that, Pons is a nice player, but Colorado's got the depth and the guys with McKinley Wright, who hasn't even been playing. I mean, he's been playing extremely well from offensively, but his defense has been kind of poor so far. So that's where I'm just going to back on a team that in the Pac-12 that I was lower on the season, higher in Tennessee, going against what I thought was going to happen in this game. And just with the team that has 2 tough games under their belt already, just going to go with the ones that Tennessee could see some growing pains in the first 2.
Yep, absolutely. When you mentioned Pons, I thought you were going down a It's Always Sunny rabbit hole talking about Pondy. Maureen's brother. Always a classic. That is funny. But yeah, I like your angle here. You did get a good number. You do have Deshaun Schwartz, who was a decent contributor for Colorado last year, coming back from COVID sidelines. This is going to be his first game that he will be able to play. He was a good guy off the bench last year for Colorado, so look for him to contribute. And getting, 5.5, 6 points, I think is a really good angle here. These teams are much closer ranked than that. Whether you're looking at Ken Palm, Bart, or anything, you're looking at 2 teams that are inside of the top 50. And I don't think this is this certainly isn't the Tennessee team we saw a few years ago where they were world beaters. This is a squad that's coming back down to earth a little bit and getting 5.5. I think Colorado's the right side on this play.
Yeah, they got, like I said, Fulkerson and Pons are their 2 good guys. But other than that, I just don't like with this team. Yeah, Colorado did play Kansas State, which is a team we trolled pretty hard on the last episode. But I don't know. I'm just buying the Buffs. Hopefully they get some nice noise on the road. Thought about them outright here, but I think that's a little too much for fading Tennessee in their first game.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And is this their first D1 game or their first game period?
First game period.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you got to if you're getting that many points and it's not Colorado's a good team. Like I said, they're a top 50 team. So being able to catch that many points, I think that's really the right play. If any of my games that tip off early, if I cash any of those, I might be throwing a little half unit to tail you on that one there.
Yep, Tennessee plays extremely slow, so this one could become a slow game. Only thing,
Yeah.
if you're watching it, don't expect these teams to be flying.
No, yeah, Tennessee does play slow, and that's kind of their mentality. They've always played with that over the last few seasons. So certainly something to look into. Before I jump into my second pick here, just want to remind anyone, go ahead and fire off in the comments if you have any games, questions, comments. If we like what we see, or even if we don't like what we see, we'll throw it up onto the stream here so the rest of the viewers are able to keep along.
Ooh, we got the first one in already.
Oh, Morgan State. All right, let's jump into that one. Where are we? Morgan State.
Coming off on fire, making Jordan start dying laughing off the rip. That's
Yeah,
what you
that was
always said.
good.
You got a good one.
All right, Morgan State taking on
Iona.
Yes, actually. So Model has the edge to Morgan State here. Line's currently at 9.5. Three of the four major college basketball analysts who put out their own full predictions have Morgan State covering this number and covering it by a fair margin. At a line of 9.5, we have it projected at 8. I think that Morgan State is the right side of this game here. Let me see if I can quickly pull up Haslam, as he's the most bullish on Morgan State. I mean, Iona doesn't play defense. So if you like or you're trusting Morgan State to do a little bit of something on the offensive side of the ball, this is certainly a good spot for them. Both teams play relatively fast, so that's going to make it a little bit of a better game to watch. Morgan State seems to capture a lot of their offensive rebounds, and they actually score off those. Unlike Kansas State, who catches all the offensive rebounds, has never fucking made a basket in 5 games this season. Morgan State actually seems to be secure in those. They're in the top 100 of their second chance points. So it's an angle I like. Seems like Morgan State goes to the line a lot and Iona fouls a lot. So that's another angle. If you're catching 9.5, 9 points, certainly lean towards Morgan State in this one.
Yeah, I take the points here. No strong feeling from either of these squads. Iona's just got one baller in Isaiah Ross from being a PA school. That's the only reason why his name sticks out to me. With Morgan State, where is your offense coming from? Is it Malik Miller or Troy Baxter? Both of these teams aren't deep. There are reasons why that these teams are ranked in the bottom 250 to 300s. So this is where you found a good one. If you want to take 9.5 on a stream, that might be a little bit hard to find unless it's on ESPN Plus.
Yeah, sometimes with these MEAC or MAC games, you can just go straight to the team website and they have free streams.
ESPN 3.
ESPN 3. So they feel guilty about charging money for this one. That's disrespect. Put your money on Morgan State and take them. You did mention Isaiah Ross, who was our first baller of the night when I did this on Saturday, because he had a crazy game. He put up 33 points. So that's something to be wary of in Morgan State here, but I just don't think that Iona has the firepower to truly blow them out by double digits. I'll go ahead and jump into the next game that I am on that Rex is not. It is one of the more premier games. You have Syracuse and Rutgers going at it. I am backing the Orange here at +4. Market is +4, and our projection makes it 2.5. I think that no Geo Baker for Rutgers is going to be tough on them. Rutgers is going to struggle to get in gear against that Syracuse patented zone defense. Shout out Notorious B.I.G. with a little heavy D up in the limousine. You have 2 great defensive squads going at it today. So I think that is an angle where if I'm catching 4 against 2 teams that play defense very well, I really like that angle. Neither of these 2 teams are going to be chucking a lot of threes. This is going to be played, although Syracuse likes to play a little bit up-tempo, I think they're comfortable slowing it down a little bit, and I think that getting 4 points here is an angle I really like. I like Syracuse. They were able to pull out a win against Bryant after choosing to play with only 7 dudes because they had a lot of COVID infections. Those players are back now, so they're back in the fold. little bit of a deeper bench, which is something you're going to need against a team like Rutgers. Rutgers is great, but I think that them still being without Geo Baker is a bit of a tough look for them. And where you have two teams that play such solid defense, catching 4 points, I believe, is the correct side of this. And both teams not afraid to take the ball into the paint, shoot those close twos, get the layups and the dunks. So I really like that. Syracuse is going to be forcing up threes. We know Buddy Boeheim loves to try and jack them up. So that's something to watch out for if you are backing Rutgers. But yeah, just something to watch there. Two teams who are going to play very close to each other. I think this line's just a little too large. If it were 3, 2.5, I probably would stay off it. But getting 4 points, I like Syracuse here. What are your thoughts on it?
It's hard fading Rutgers in the rack because I think last season they only lost 2 games there. So you might be hoping that Rutgers only wins by 1-3, and then you and Goose would both come out extremely happy on this one. The total set at 140 here because I don't have too strong of a feeling on the sides because I think this is the good litmus test for both of these squads to see where they're going to be at for the season. So that's where I'm kind of just going to relax off that one because it's 2 squads that I need to see what they prove it or see what they come out against the solid competition. You heard Boeheim's like a quote saying he didn't even want to play the first half, and then they came out in the second half against Bryan and killed them.
Yeah.
So that's where the under at 140 just seems way too high when you have the 2 top 25 defenses, especially with – I know Syracuse likes to push it, but when you're playing in a zone, the other team's going to have longer possessions. You're going to see 15 to 25 seconds tick off of it. And how you're going to be able to shoot the 3. Rutgers is shooting at 35% so far, 97th overall. So that's where if they can get hot from outside, that's the only way you don't see it cashing. But backing a team that's going to – I don't know. It's so weird trying to watch them play fast out of the zone. They just break. But can Rutgers hit the boards? Can Rutgers hit threes? I think those are your 2 questions, which determines the outcome.
Yeah, this is certainly not going to be a high-scoring game. I don't think neither of these teams foul a lot. They're pretty fundamentally sound on the defensive side of things. So it's not going to be a game where you're going to see 45 free throws. I think that this game is going to be one on the glass. And yeah, hopefully it's a tight one. Syracuse losing by a couple points. I wouldn't mind that. Then breakdown superfan Goose will go ahead and be a happy man. So as Goose said, he loves the analysis. The Syracuse zone scares him, and he feels Rutgers is the more talented team, but a bad matchup. Thanks for chiming in, Goose.
Yeah, let's see that litmus test. That's definitely one I'm going to be monitoring the results and have it up. So I'll get into one of my next games that I got. This is probably one of the more marquee games that Jordan isn't on. I'm going to be going to Iowa versus UNC. So with the Hawkeyes being at home, this is where I just have to play them. I know Garrison Brooks' status is questionable. If he's ruled out, I think we see this line move more towards Iowa's favor. If he's ruled in, I think he'll probably drop down to 2. So this is where if you want to get on my side and hope that he doesn't play, get the better number that way. That's why I'm locking in the -3 now. Bacot is the guy who probably going to be going up against Garza with him out, and he's no scrub. He's a freshman, so let's see how good he is in his first test. And a big test, you're going up against the reigning player of the year. So that's where Garza and his 35 points per game so far. It's hard to fade him. I know maybe the way to do it would to be going against this because the model I don't think shows a large edge on Iowa. I think it says to take the points here. But if Brooks is out, I just love this play more. The way that scares me is the guards with RJ Davis, and he's a solid guard for Carolina, and Caleb Love. So those are the 2 guys where I'm going to need the Iowa guards to finally show up. UNC hasn't been shooting well from deep, and Iowa does cover it at a top 100 rate, so it's nothing too spectacular, but UNC shooting 27%. Iowa shooting 39% from 3. I'm getting the home team they're basically saying this spread is a pick 'em because if they're factoring home court or not. But this is where I think Iowa's the right side here. And if Brooks is out, I love this play even more.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to talk about litmus test? I think that this is really it. You have UNC was probably one of their better front courts that they've had in quite some time, going up against Luke Garza. I was buying all the Luke Garza hype preseason. I took Iowa to win the national championship plus 2,300, I want to say, about a month ago. So I like Iowa here. Like you said, if Brooks is out, that only serves to benefit Iowa, and we will see that line grow. I think that you're on the right side of this. This is going to be a real physical game, and I like the angle that you're taking. Iowa's guards are going to need to hit those threes. I think that that will be a difference maker because that's if there's one. I mean, UNC is pretty sound on defense, but if there's one area where they could be beat, I think it's from the 3-point line. So if you have a lot of attention being played to Luke Garza, I think that's where you need to know when to dish it out to that 3-point line and be able to make those threes.
Yeah, can Iowa guard on the inside is the other way that they could lose here because UNC, they're one of the worst 3% rate teams. That means they're just not taking them because they got a bunch of bodies on the inside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
So Wieskamp, please show up for me tonight. I know you've been struggling a little bit for this season, but maybe this can be your breakout game.
And Iowa's deep. They play, I mean, a very, very balanced team. Looking at Bart's projections, he has, I mean, they're aside from one guy, their rotation is all getting over 25% of the minutes. So
yeah, they've won each game by 30. So yeah, that kind of helps.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see in a closer matchup what they do with that rotation. Will they rely more on their vets, those guys with pedigree, or will they still utilize the young, scrappy bench that they do have there in Iowa?
All right, so since you got 2 plays left, we share one of those, and that's the only play I've left. Let's take Quinn's last question. I know. We're trying to wrap this up by 1. I do have a work meeting to get to, but 20 minutes, I'll talk college basketball for my entire lunch break that I can. So the line that has Jordan pointed this one out to me at 9:30. This line was available at +4 for UMBC against Delaware. Now it's all the way down to, what is it, 1.5 and 2 now?
Yeah, I'm checking. I'm scrolling through my app to try and find it.
So this is where we saw big money. It's a pick. So this line has plummeted 4 points already. I'm not too sure what's moved this line just because it is a 4 p.m. tip. I haven't dug into UMBC's lineup. I know they did play last night, so they're on back-to-backs. But our model does like it right where it opened at the -4. That's where we think it should be at. Ken Palm has this at a -3. So I don't know if someone's got some inside information, if someone's sitting out this game where they're expected to play. Can't say I know UMBC's or Delaware's roster to the fine tooth here, but this is where a lot of money came against it. You can fade the steam and retire, one of the famous verbiages here, or you can jump on the steam and hope that you're on the right side of it one time. But I would play UMBC bearing any major injuries or somebody sitting out for this game.
I mean, UMBC really put it on George Washington yesterday. George Washington's I think that's who they played.
Yes.
Yeah, they put it on them last night. I mean, yes, it is a back-to-back, but we haven't seen such a significant drop-off in teams that play the back-to-backs quite yet, aside from Indiana. Indiana did not show up early. When was that? Last Tuesday? Mm-hmm. They had played a back-to-back. That's the only true, letdown spot that you often hear the narrative of in NBA. If the line's opening at 4 and it's now down to a pick, you've got to take that team. There was a reason that the odds makers liked UMBC, and now it's simply that you have some bettors who are really bullish on Delaware. And like you said, who has Delaware beat to have attributed a 4-point line move?
This is their first D1 game.
Yeah, Quinn, if you're liking UMBC here, I certainly think that's the right side. Honestly, seeing 4 points of line movement, I might throw a little half unit on UMBC. If I'm getting 4 points of fading steam, fade steam, get rich, retire.
Yeah, unless Horvath or Aiken, those are the two guys. I don't want to mistake on their name for UMBC. If those two guys are both playing today, you play that. If one of those guys is sitting, maybe you're a little bit more hesitant on it. But if those two guys are in the lineup, it's a fire play.
Yep, absolutely. Totally agree there. I'll go ahead and take the mic for my next game. I have one more that we do not share, correct? Yeah.
Yes. So break down that one, then we'll tip it off with what I think is the best game of the night.
Yep, and I agree. So game that I am having edge on here is what is being touted by ESPN as the Goose. You're right. You being touted by ESPN as the Big East and Big 12 battle. We have Creighton and Kansas. Creighton is currently a 4-point dog. I like Creighton. I was super high on them preseason. That is the side that I am backing in this. Market, I believe, is still at 4. Our projection is that Creighton should only be about a 2.5-point dog. So I like getting the points here. Creighton has undeniable presence on the interior. It's really hard for Kansas to battle if Creighton decides to go big. I think they have 3 or 4 dudes who are 6'10" or taller. So obviously they're not going to roll out with, the biggest squad ever of 4 big men and then a guard. But if Creighton's able to control the glass, I really think that they do well here and could possibly looking at upsetting the Jayhawks. Kansas hasn't terribly impressed me overall. When they have played the teams who have a little bit more size and physicality, they have struggled. Creighton knows what they do well, and that's what I've always liked about Creighton with Greg McDermott. They play to their strengths. They're fundamentally sound. They move the ball, and they take advantage of mismatches, and I think that's what we will see in this game. I'm sure Kansas will probably win, but this could be a game we see going into overtime. I don't think this should be a 2-possession spread. I think that these teams are fairly even matched in terms of counteracting the others' advantages or weaknesses, and I'm going to catch 4 points here.
Yep. So if you want to do what I'll be doing this afternoon when work wraps up, I'll be watching this game. Then I'll be watching the Iowa UNC game. And then I'll be watching the last one on Duke, Illinois. So maybe I'll jump in on a live bet here. If I had to take this play pregame, which I'm sitting out of, but you have to take the points with Creighton. Kansas, everyone tried to in the media. It was so annoying how much they pushed. Oh, is Kansas in trouble? They played bad against North Dakota State at home. Like, oh my gosh, like it's college basketball. This happens all the time. They didn't lose, so they did what they had to do and win. So this is where, sure, maybe Kansas laid their egg. This could be their one egg of the season that they did and just continue to roll. This team is solid defensively. So, and I know Creighton has a top 10 offense. So that there is where I think this game gets determined, because on both sides of the ball, you're even with offensive efficiency versus defensive efficiency on both sides. It's 1-to-1. So that's where you're getting the points. You are on the road, but I don't believe they have any fans there. If there is, it's limited. So, man, I would take the points. No strong feel here. Zagorowski has to show up for this one. No, yeah,
Marcus Zagorowski, yep.
Yeah, he's got to show up for this one. If they want to be in this game, that's who's going to get it in there for Creighton. I've seen some people like them outright, so this is where if you do, go for it, but getting the points is the way you got to go.
Yeah, I mean, the only other team that Kansas has played to this caliber with an offense is Gonzaga, and they lost by 12. I'm not saying Creighton's offense is Gonzaga's, because it's not. I don't think anyone's offense right now is Gonzaga's. But catching 4 points, in my opinion, this is the only side to bet. You either watch this game and you see what happens and you bet it live, or you take Creighton pregame. I don't think that Kansas has shown enough to be a 4-point favorite over a very good team.
Yep, so that's a marquee one to watch. Definitely will be tuned in for that one. And let's get into the one that we both share for today. Isn't it fun fading Duke at Cameron Indoor? I mean, it takes a pair. The echoes are nuts in that with no one in there in that stadium.
Yeah.
So that's where we're getting 4 points on the Illini, and Jordan and I are both taking that here. Duke, they they looked decent against Michigan State, nothing impressive. Illinois did not look good against Baylor at all. So this is where both teams have already dropped a game and where they're hoping to be undefeated at this time. Illinois' offense is what I think is the difference here. With Kofi and Dosunmu, those are just ballers that two probably could be on the first team All-American, in my opinion. Both of them have the caliber. Kofi has not shown up so far this season, so maybe this is this game where he's going to be going against Hurt and Brackerfields in the middle. I think this is Kofi's game to finally show why he should be in contention for Player of the Year or the top center in the conference. I know Garza's right in the same one, but Kofi, this is his time to show up. Dosunmu should have his way with these guards here. DJ Stewart is a nice piece, but all these Duke freshmen, they're coming up against, I know there's a few freshmen contributing for Illinois, but just the seniority on this Illinois team with those two pieces, as long as neither of them get in foul trouble, I like the Illini to win outright here tonight, but I'm taking the 4 points instead.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you have, I think, where an angle where that disparity between experience and talent really shows is in the front court. It is very hard for an 18-year-old to have the physicality needed to battle someone who's 20, 21, 22, has put on muscle and been playing in college basketball for 2, 3, 4 years. Duke doesn't have a Zion Williams this year. So Zion was obviously someone who took care of his own in the paint as a freshman, but they don't have that type of player this year. We're on the same side of this one. I like Illinois. I think that this one, just like I said about Creighton, there's no reason that Duke should be such a large, it's 4 points, but for them to be a 4-point favorite over a very good Illinois team, Illinois has one of the top 10, 15 offenses in the league, and they're going against a team that'll start 4 or 5 freshmen. I just like what Illinois has to work with in this game. And for everything that you said, plus the fact that Illinois is just launching threes. They're hitting them. It's not even that they're putting up a ton. It's that they're hitting them. They're almost 50% from behind the 3-point line, which is ungodly. Having that in one game is kind of crazy. Having it through 4 games is even crazier.
Yeah, 37 for 82 from beyond the arc.
Yeah, that's incredible. And being able to get some points there for all the reasons that we've outlined, I think that Illinois is the right side of this. And this is, like you said, I think that this is the best game of the night. This or the Tar Heels and Hawkeyes game. One thing that interests me is that, let me look real quick. The only person who has Duke ranked higher than Illinois is Ken Pomeroy. All the other analytical guys have Illinois as a slightly better team over Detroit. And when you have that analytical angle and you have some support of analytics and of the guys who have been running these measurements for 5, 10, 15 years, I really like that. And I'm going to take Illinois.
Yeah, so the pace here is these teams kind of play contrasting styles, but I know Illinois is going to be greatly impacted from playing Baylor so far. So when 1/4 of your game has extremely slow, this is where Duke plays at a fast tempo. Illinois is a little bit slower, but I don't think a fast tempo hurts Illinois that much. I think it helps Dosunmu. It might hurt Kofi a little bit, but this is where you got DeMonte Williams as well, who is another good piece. He's one of those two guards in the backcourt can handle Duke. So this is where if Duke does try to push it, I still don't think there's an issue for Illinois there.
Yep, I agree. I'm just looking at some of these efficiency numbers for Duke, and it's so dwarfed because they just played Bellarmine and they played Coppin State to start the year. Looking at their offensive rating numbers, they have 5 guys who are approaching 150 offensive rating, but it's because they played such inferior opponents. Mark Williams, who's only playing 20% of the minutes for Duke, is 145. So clearly he got a lot of time in that Bellarmine game, and that's why. That just was so funny to me.
Well, with Coppin State, they only won by 10.
I know,
Maybe, they were looking forward to Michigan State, but When you look at their stats on Michigan State, they shot 15 for 39 from the field and 5 for 23 from three. I don't see why Illinois' defense can't do the same exact thing that Michigan State's defense can do.
Yeah, and what? Illinois is only 6 points better than Coppin State? I think not.
Yes, sir. So we're almost at our time limit, so it's good time.
Yeah, that's all we got for our picks. If anyone has anything, feel free to drop it in here, and I can carry on if Rex has to jump off. But only thing we have remaining is our trolls, and looks like there's one notable one. And I'm going to hand the mic over to Rex on this one, as he unfortunately backed this team in yet another letdown spot from a blue blood team.
Yeah, so burn some money real quick back in the Wildcats against Georgia Tech on Sunday. All I can say is what a lifeless and terrible, and didn't look like Kentucky's ever played basketball before this game. I believe they had 20 turnovers. I think 13 occurred in the first half. They lost both halves handedly. So if you tried to jump in and back the second half thinking that, oh, Georgia Tech would lay one up, they didn't. Coach Cal's first loss to an assistant coach, so he went from a pristine 17-0 record to 17-1. Clowned on Josh Pastner, clowned on Georgia Tech a little bit earlier because dropping to Mercer and dropping to Georgia State and then beating Kentucky on a neutral court, that's a great step for them in that direction. Good for the Yellow Jackets there. They looked great. They looked like what I expected Kentucky to look like. They handled the ball. They shot efficiently. Kentucky even shot like 33% from three and still got smoked.
They did much better. So, they got snowed.
Yeah, they couldn't finish anything on the inside end. When you lose a turnover battle by 14, I didn't see how many points they scored off the turnovers, but regardless, when you're just handing them 14 free possessions, there's no way you're going to cover a 6.5 number. I took a fishy line, which I thought it was, and ended up showing why it was so fishy because the Cats showed no life. Coach Cal, I don't know what you're doing there. I stand you right now. You deserve to be getting clowned because Sarr did not look good. Whenever Georgia Tech went to a zone, it was like, oh no, Kentucky's just going to struggle even more. And it was just like, I had no idea what they were doing on basketball, and I don't think they did either.
Yeah, watching them try to play against the zone was like me trying to watch the Celtics last year in the playoffs play against the zone. It was like they've never seen it before. Like, is that I understand that Kentucky's starting young dudes, but aren't you playing against zones at least sometimes in AAU or high school ball? Giving up 15 assists to a Georgia Tech completely inferior talent team is unforgivable. Kentucky really is going to have to. I mean, how many times are we going to say this? How many times are we going to keep beating the drum? They got to get right. They have games coming up against Notre Dame and Detroit. I don't know.
If they're letting points, you have to take the points. I mean, you have to like fade them and take the plus points there. There's no way you can back Kentucky and have any bit of confidence other than today they're just going to figure out how to play basketball.
Yep. I totally agree. And I'm right there with you. This is the only troll that came to mind for us today. We've been hard on some other teams already. Kansas State, UConn fans, not necessarily the team. But that's really all that we have as far as our trolls go today. Because we are getting some premier matchups today, if any of these teams get blown out, they will be sure to be on our trolls in our next episode, probably coming Thursday or Friday of this week. You got anything to say or plug before we sign off and get you to your 1 p.m. meeting?
Can't wait. The grind, man. Probably lunch during it, if I'm going to be honest.
We've got some good games today, so this is exciting. You love to see this on a weekday where there's not much other sports going on. You do have the NFL game tonight, but this is star-studded college basketball slate for tonight. So enjoy, everyone. If you have any questions, feel free to hit us up on Twitter at breakdown_sports, BRKDWN_sports, Instagram, _breakdown, and find us on Facebook, The Breakdown. Website, like I said, a lot of content being pumped out right now. Thanks to the editing team really pushing those through. www.thebreakdownsports.com. And that's all I got. Signing off here for Rex and Jordan from episode 5 of Pick and Troll. Best of luck tonight, and hope everyone wins their bets.
See you, fellas.